Do it. I give you the green light.
All right, we are back. We are live on Facebook now in the Milagros Sisterhood page. Thank you again to everyone for being here. And we are going to start with a prayer. So if everyone can please I'm going to mute everyone for now. Okay. And I'm going to play this. So please be present and please, okay, wait, I'm going to share my, how do I do
Where's
that?
my hat? Let me see this.
You need to mute it. How you mute it?
Where do I do? Where do I share it? Okay. Yeah,
Come on, let us breathe. The breath of God is breathing me.
Yes.
And resting in the breath of God, I know that all is well. The breath of God is breathing me. And resting in the breath of God, I know that all is well. Because God is here now. God is the power, the presence, the source of all life. God is love. God is peace. God is joy. God is protection. God is security. God is a comforter, and God is the great nurturer.
Yes.
And it is here now. I am one with this power and this presence, and you, my sister and my brother, you are one with this presence and this power. For you are an individualized expression. We are individualized expressions of this one. So as God is right here, right now, and neither comes nor goes, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am comforted now as the comforter is here. I am nurtured now as the nurturer is here. I lay down in the arms of God and I let God heal me. I lay down in the arms of God and I allow God to whisper in my ear, Black brother, you're beautiful. Black sister, you're beautiful. Black brother, you're powerful. Black sister, you're powerful. Black brother, you're brilliant. Black sister, you are brilliant.
Yes.
You have always mattered. That's why I created you.
Yes. Yes.
I desired for you to be here on this planet.
That's why you're here. Yes.
I desired to experience myself as you on this planet.
Yes.
You are powerful. You are brilliant. You are beautiful. You are amazing. You have always mattered. I hear the voice of the nurturer and the comforter speaking to each and every one of us, reminding us of the truth of our being, reminding us that peace is right here, right now within us.
Yes.
And so it is from this place of peace that I allow inspired ideas to fill my heart and my mind and spur me into inspired action. And it is from this awareness of perfect peace that is present here and now that I see all of my brothers and sisters living in wellness.
Yes.
That I see all of my brothers and sisters living in absolute joy. Not just joy in the midst of suffering, but just joy. For all suffering has ended. All pain is gone. And it is out of this awareness and out of this vision that I pass the prayer.
Mother, Father, God, there is peace that has been expressed in this moment. There is power that has been activated in this moment. There is a blanket of peace covering this planet in this moment. And there's an activation of power within each of us that has been awakened in this moment. Why? Because we exist. Why? Because we matter. Why? Because love said it was so. I'm so grateful, Mother, Father, God, and I am in such gratitude. I thank this awareness that has come to and through each of us. I thank this morning that we rose and knew that we mattered. I thank the sun that shines on us to continually remind us, whether there are clouds or not, that we matter. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for the truth of these teachings. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for the ability to shift and change any vibration with the power of our minds. We collectively go to that power now. We summon that power now. And from that power, we respond.
Yeah.
And from that power, we breathe. Yeah. And from that power, we act. Yeah. And from that power, we love. And from that power, we allow healing to take place. Yes. Thank you, Mother, Father, God.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, Mother, Father, God. For I know that as I speak these words, they have become more than just thought. They have become formalized in my consciousness and in my life and in the lives of everyone here. Yeah. We go forth today, looking and focusing in on only what we desire.
Yeah.
Individually and collectively, we keep our eye on the prize. We keep the truth in our mouths.
Yeah. Yeah.
We keep love in our minds.
Yeah.
From this place of awareness, I release these words back into the mind that created every being, perfect, whole, and complete, and never changed its mind about us. From this place of awareness, I release these words with a breath. And together we say, Amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is. So it.
Okay. So. Okay. I'm hoping you guys were able to hear that. Did everyone hear it? Okay.
Hear it. You felt it. You felt it.
Okay,
Hear it.
good,
You felt
good,
it.
Good. Okay, so that was Pastor Greg and Pastor Yolanda. They are my pastors at my church, the Celebration Spiritual Center. And that was this Sunday when they talked about Black Lives Matter, when they talked about George Floyd's murder, when they talked about the state of our city and our country and our souls. And so that was actually the closing prayer. But as I re-listened to that recording yesterday, I felt like that closing prayer is what I wanted to open with. And we'll close with their opening prayer. And so with that, I want to introduce my dear friend, my great friend, my brother, Harold Reed. In this conversation, we need to hear the voice of a Black man. And he is also a former police officer. And so he can speak to us from both of those worlds. And not only that, he's a man of the movement for Milagros Day Worldwide. Harold Reed has been with us from the inception of the Milagros Boot Camp Healing Forgiveness Circle. Since 2013, this man has come, no matter where we are, 3 hours away, out in the boondocks of Pennsylvania, out in New Jersey. You know, he's been there with us from 6 p.m. till 2 in the morning. He's been there with us. And he has stood for our greatness. He has stood for our healing. He has stood and he has looked at each and every one of these women in that circle. And he has taken responsibility for the pain, for the hurt, for the betrayal that has been inflicted on them by other men without knowing you, without owing you anything. He has taken that responsibility upon himself to be the vehicle and the conduit for your healing. And so I want us to be here and to receive him with that love, with that gratitude, to be the conduit for his healing today, for all of our healing today. So my brother Harold Reed, thank you for being here. I hope that that introduction has done you justice, because no words can express the love and the gratitude that I have for you. So I'm going to highlight you. I'm going to highlight you right now and give you 10 minutes, 10 to 12, 13 minutes for you to just speak what's on your heart and to give us some guidance, some direction, some inspiration on, as Latina, mostly Latina women, white women, Black women, Charlena's hiding, but, and all of the ones that are going to hear you, some direction, some inspiration on how can we be a conduit for healing in this time.
Well, first, my beautiful sister Dawn, I want to thank you for allowing me into your circle once again. You always know when you call, I come. And we actually met, I think about a year before you actually launched Milagros Day. It was still in its planning stages when we met at a totally different function. And we hooked up at another. All right, ladies. I'll tell you, I'm somewhat the perfectionist. When things ain't right, it irks my spirit. But in any case,
if you have more light, that would be
no,
great.
I'm in the office, so
okay,
you know,
cool.
it's about as good as it's gonna get.
Okay.
But what I've come to find, especially over the past week, really, is that it's better for me to listen to people, because for you ladies who have yet to meet me, don't know me, Dawn will tell you, I'll talk. I have close to no filter. I might hurt your feelings. It won't be my intent, but if that's the result, if I'm telling the truth, it's just gonna have to be a hard pill to swallow. And when things like this occur, because tragically, this isn't the first, second, or third time that a person of color has died at the hands of excessive force and/or straight out brutality. I can only say that throughout the time that I was a police officer, I never conducted myself in such a deplorable manner. Have I had to put hands on people? Absolutely. Have I had to put people down on the ground? Absolutely. But once somebody got handcuffs on them, that's like watching a boxing match and the bell rings. Round is over. Once the cuffs are on, the round is over. Scoop them up, put them in the car, take them to the house, do the paperwork. You know, but that's not what we saw. That's not what we've seen. And depending on how closely you're watching the news, in some cases, that's not what we are currently seeing. And again, I say that is tragic. I put a post on Facebook about a day or so ago wherein it was kind of like a offhanded prayer, if you will, in that I was thanking God that, because I've been retired, it'll be 10 years next year. And I was thanking God that I retired early enough to where I wouldn't have to be on the street while these things have been happening over the past almost 10 years. If things weren't where they are now, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And the reason why I gave that offhanded, I call it an offhanded prayer, is because I was also thanking God that I didn't have to deal with people who were on some F the police and pig this and pig that, while at the same time saying, oh, but not you, man, you cool, we with you, you cool, you one of the good ones, you know. that's just as offensive as someone saying, "Oh, you're pretty articulate for a Spanish person," or you're very attractive for a black woman. It's equally offensive as a police officer who is doing the job as it's supposed to be done to be singled out because you're not like the rest. When in reality, there are a majority of thousands and hundreds of thousands of police officers throughout this country who are doing the right thing. And it's, but it's like what you're fed. If all I fed you for a year was tuna fish and Ritz crackers, and all you ate for a whole year, every day, 3 times a day, was tuna fish and Ritz crackers, all you would know was tuna fish and Ritz crackers. And I kept you in a room and I ain't let you watch nothing but Columbo and fed you tuna fish and Ritz crackers. All you would know when you came out of that room is tuna fish, Ritz crackers, and Columbo. And that's what it's like watching social media. You see what you are fed. And if all you are fed when it comes to police interactions with the public are what we've been seeing, then that is what's going to color your mind towards the police. Now, granted, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happens because we see it happen. But it's what you don't see that also happens. That is the actual majority. You know, for those of us on here who are people of color, there are things that have been said about black people. There are things that have been said about Latino people. There have been things that have been said about white people, but none of these things are absolute. Because not every black person is a thug, not every black person is a rapper, listen, I'm 6'3". I could probably shoot the ball, but you ain't gonna see me running up and down the basketball court. I fenced when I was in high school. Okay. My wife is a computer geek. She's downstairs playing video games right now. That's how she's coping. You know, so we are not what the stereotypes say we are, even though I do believe that if there were not some truth in it, there wouldn't be no stereotypes. So these things exist, but we can't just be so one-sided tunnel visioned in the things that we're dealing with. Yet I digress. Dawn gave me pretty wide breadth of time, 10 minutes. Wow. I don't think I'm gonna take them all just talking. So what I would like to do, if any of you ladies have any questions that I could hopefully answer with the things you've seen over the past few weeks, well, really this past week, it seems like a month, but it's only been literally a week and a day. I say, Dawn, open the floor. Let anybody who has a question ask.
Okay. Okay, so I have one question, Harold. You know, I was doing some research, kind of like going back and seeing, you know, like I've read so many quotes, and I did see one of your recordings where you said, you know, people always go ahead and quote Martin Luther King, you know, and that's great. That's a place to start, but you got to go deeper than that with all the other, you know, figures in history that have made an impact. And so the one quote from Martin Luther King that says that riots are the language of the unheard, right? And then, you know, so I started like looking into just researching riots throughout history. And yes, there was, you know, the 60s. Yes, there was Rodney King. But I started going even way back farther than that. And I went all the way back to 1863. 1863, which was when the Civil War was already happening, 2 years into the Civil War, right before the Emancipation Proclamation. And there was a draft. The Civil War needed people to fight the war, and there was a draft in New York City, in Manhattan. And it was deadly. There was hundreds and hundreds of people were killed during a 3-day period, you know. And these were white people, and they killed many black people. Um, so, you know, how do we stop history from repeating itself right now? And
Well,
can we stop it at this point?
we could do anything. We got here now after being ooze in the pond millions of years ago. So yeah, we can do it. Um, what can we do to stop history from repeating itself? Well, it's as simple as the saying goes: those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And apparently, we aren't learning. You know what? I would say we are learning, but we aren't learning at the pace we would like to. To add on top of that, this society has developed into a instant gratification microwave Twitterized society where you can't even have a whole if you typed a whole paragraph of stuff and you had the whole wide world of meaning in that paragraph, you're going to lose people after the first 5-6 sentences because people attention spans are like that. But I still say that people are learning. But then there's some people who don't want to learn. There are people who don't care to learn. There are people who are happy being spoon-fed their intelligence or lack thereof. So my ultimate personal belief is that one, I'm amazed and happy that I lived long enough to see the first black president. I'm very proud of the fact, side note, I'm very proud of the fact that one of the brothers I graduated from high school with was on his Secret Service detail for all 8 years. And in the second term, he was special agent in charge of Sasha Malia's protective detail. Little knucklehead black boy from East Orange, New Jersey, protecting the first black president, where everybody else was running around, jumping up and down because we got a black president. I was cool until they did the little march, the little parade down the street. And I saw Barack and Michelle get out the car, and I see my boy walking behind him. That's when I started jumping up and down because, oh, I told you I could talk. But I really think that I'm happy that I lived long enough to see the first black president. However, I do not believe any of us will live long enough to see an end to racism. Quite frankly, because a whole lot of old-minded people are just gonna have to die off. It's like our human skin. We are not carrying or wearing the same skin we were born with, because even though we don't see it happening, we shed our skin. We shed our skin. How many of you ladies pull out the what do you call it, the emery board, and you scrape your heels, you shave your feet? Well, I don't say shave your feet, but you know, when you get the pedicure, they rub the board on your heels to get that dead skin off. Racist, bigoted, prejudiced people are like that dead skin on human creation. And in time, that dead skin the skin itself has to die, and it has to shed off, and new fresh skin has to rise. And it's a process. It's a process. So it's going to take time. The best we can do is contribute to that process as best we can with the time that we have, so that when our time comes to go, we can rest or go to our final rest knowing we did our part. With regards to Martin Luther King, love the man, love what he stood for and everything, but the problem I have with the invocation of Martin Luther King is, and forgive me if I can't see everybody here, so if there are any white women here, forgive me. I'm not going to call you Karen, but forgive me if what I say is going to offend you, but that is not my intent. Having said that, white people tend to pull Martin Luther King out of their behinds every time they have to deal with an angry black person. The reason why is because historically, when all of us were in school and they told us about Black History Month, the only person they were shoving down our throat was Martin Luther King. And why did they shove Martin Luther King down our throat? Because in the 60s, in the birth and goings on the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King was the one Negro talking about nonviolence, nonviolence, nonviolence. He was a safe Negro. He was non-threatening. So if you've got a leader saying, you know, don't fight back, show them love, hate can't take out hate, love can take out hate. When you send out all those non-threatening messages, the people who are causing that oppression, they're going to gravitate to that message and they're going to pass that message on to you. So that's why, and again, it's no offense, it's just how we were all educated. So white people, why can't you be like Martin Luther King? Why can't you be like Martin Luther King? He talked nonviolence. He talked the content of the character and the color of the skin. And what I tell people is, yeah, but what can you tell me about Malcolm? What can you tell me about Marcus Garvey? What can you tell me about Medgar Evers, who came before all of them? Well, besides Marcus. If you can't tell me about Medgar, Marcus, or Malcolm, I don't care what you have to say about Martin Luther King, because you don't even know everything it is about Martin Luther King. This is history we're talking about. And it really touches my spirit because I have a 10-year-old boy who's starting to learn about the history of the country in the school. And when he brings home a work assignment that says, and I'm closely paraphrasing, that says the majority of the workforce during colonial times was primarily made up of African Americans. And I have to get into my teacher's case because, first of all, it's not a workforce when you're forced to work. And in the colonial times, before there was even a quote unquote United States of America, if there was no United States of America, how could there be African Americans when even in that time we weren't even considered people? The 3/5 rule hadn't even come about yet. We were not considered human beings. We were chattel slaves. So again, I digress. When people pull out Martin Luther King, I have to also let them know that Martin Luther King wasn't killed because he had a dream. Martin Luther King was killed because he had a plan. As long as Martin Luther King was talking about nonviolence and so on and so forth, he was that non-threatening Negro. He was the one white people would say, yeah, be like him. Don't threaten us. Be like him. How come nobody talk about Nat Turner? Why? Because Nat Turner was a slave who they tried to teach. They taught the Bible to him, to have him teach the Bible to the rest of the slaves to keep them in line. And something happened, and Nat Turner said, I'm not taking it anymore. And he led one of the most quickest but effective slave revolts in the history of this country, let alone the state of Virginia. So the reason why I say Martin Luther King was killed, not because he had a dream, but because he had a plan, is because there's only so much dogs, billy clubs, tear gas, fire hoses, and excuse my French ladies, ass whippings a black man gonna take. And what people don't realize, because they don't put this in the history books, Martin and Malcolm were beginning to develop a friendship because Malcolm had gone through changes of his own when he separated from the Nation of Islam. And what made Martin Luther King, when I say Martin Luther King had a plan, he was beginning to work with black and white people. Look this up, the Poor People's Movement. Martin Luther King and the Poor People's Movement. Martin Luther King was getting ready to unite black and white people on an economic level. On an economic level. And when you start messing with people's money, that's when it becomes a problem. So you say, well, what if he did get everybody working together? What would be the problem with that? Go ahead and Google the Montgomery bus boycott. They want to tell you about Rosa Parks, so go ahead and look up what happened with the Montgomery bus boycott that was really only supposed to last a week, but really lasted a little over a year. And there was no Twitter, there was no social media. Most of these people didn't even have phones, but they got the word out throughout all of Alabama, especially in Montgomery. Okay, so history is very important. We can't just say, well, why can't we stop and get along and start from right now? Never mind the past. I'm a black man. I don't have the luxury of saying never mind the past. The system that we live in now wasn't set up for me to succeed. I have to succeed in spite of. I have to work to make sure that when people look at me, they don't say I'm an exception to the rule. I have to let them know that I am the rule. My sons will not be exceptions to the rule. My sons will be the rule. And if that rule happens to be exceptional, then their sons will be better than them. This is how we have to live and raise our children. So we have to, as adults, we figure once we finish with school, whether it be high school and I'm done, college and I'm done, master's degree and I'm done, we still have to keep learning. We still have to be educated. We have children. We have to learn what those children are being taught. And then we have to find the research to make sure what they're being taught is accurate. I'm sorry, you got me preaching up in here. Next question. Can I answer your question, Dawn?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. Wow. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need to hear, like the history. Those who, I forgot how the saying goes, but basically, if you don't know where you come from, you might end up going back there. And so we need to educate ourselves. Thank you so much for that. I started doing some research. Like I said, I'm going to really dive into the poor people's movement after we're done with this conversation. So thank you. All right, ladies, let's talk about this. Let's hear, where you are, how you're feeling, in the introduction, in the email, in the invitation, I said, are you scared? Are you angry? Are you upset? Are you confused? This is all trauma. Everything that's happening is trauma. Watching that man, George Floyd, being killed, being murdered is trauma. Being in the community, being outside, being part of what's happening right now is trauma. Being locked up because we can't go back out after thinking that we were going to start going back out after COVID-19, that's trauma, and being a person of color in America today is trauma. And I also believe that being a white person who doesn't know what to do, or if every step they're taking or every word they're saying is offensive, is also trauma. So just talk, just share, take about 3 minutes each. If you have a question for Harold, please voice it, and just raise your hand.
Dawn, can I say one thing before you open the floor?
Yes.
I promise I'll do my damnedest to be really quick with this.
Go ahead.
With regards to, like, if you have white friends, and I mean, there are good white people out there. Some of my best friends are white, you know what I'm saying? But if they genuinely care about what we're going through and they genuinely want to know, then the best thing for them to do, and you can tell them this, I don't need you to talk. I need you to listen. I need you to be quiet. I need you to understand. I need you to listen to where I'm coming from. Listen to my experience. Don't filter it through your upbringing and what you were taught in school. Let me tell you about my experience. You've never been called nigger before. You've never been pulled over by the police before. You've never been walking down the street and have a cop just jam you up, hem you up for no other reason. I was on a walk a couple days ago, and I'm walking past the police headquarters where I used to work. And being that I've been gone for so long, I don't know all of the new faces. And this white cop says, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing?" I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm walking." And then I went on about my business. Now, I can do that because I'm standing at the building I used to work in. There are people in that building that know me, but not every black man can talk to a cop that way and get out of that encounter. So when you're dealing with your white friends, tell them the best thing you can do is just listen. Second thing, and then I'm done till somebody asks me a question. One thing I love about Milagros as an organization is you women are not victims. You might walk into meeting Dawn and the other ladies who've been here before you, and you might walk in with a victim mentality, but these ladies are going to bust your ass to ensure you don't walk out with that mentality. So to that, I add this. Stop claiming victimization. Stop claiming victimization. Stop telling yourself and your children and your friends. Stop feeding into the frenzy of every time I see a cop, I get scared. Every time the lights go on behind me, I get scared. No, because all of us who are here, if you've been dealing with Dawn for any time more than a week, any time more than a month, I'm sure Dawn has had some kind of conversation with you about the law of attraction. Okay? And you attract what you focus on. So if you attract, I'm scared to go out. If you focus on, I'm scared to go out, you're gonna find a reason to be scared when you do go out. So know that we are going to get through this. Know that you are strong people. Know that you are raising strong children. Know that you are going to raise your children to be stronger. Let me stop. I'm sorry. I started preaching again. Go ahead. Don't open the floor. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to open it up. Open it up. So raise your hand. Yes, yes, yes. The Rev. The Rev. 1 second. Let me unmute you. The Reverend Carmen Hernandez. All right. The perfect lady to tell us the voice of the Bronx. Let me see. I can't, you're muted, my love.
Can you hear me?
There you go. There you go.
All right. God bless you, everybody. Good to see you.
Just a minute, everyone. Just when you're sharing, please keep it down to like 3 minutes tops, and that way everyone else can share. Okay. Thank you, my love. Go ahead, Rev Carmen Hernandez.
Hi, everybody. I want to tell the brother I don't want to stop preaching either. But I'm going to say this. Not only the Black community, but the Latino community will also. Because let me tell you, brother, I was 15 years old, and I was also been a victim of police brutality. And I was stopped with my sister, a 1-year-old in the crib. But I was walking with her in the street, and I was arrested for no reason. Okay? And I had a white cop told a Puerto Rican lady to tell her to accuse me of something I never did. So go figure that. And I'm 57 years old now. So this has been going on for many decades. And I've been working for Maria Baez, who her son was choked and killed by the same. And nobody came and supported that lady, a Latina Puerto Rican woman. So this has been going on and on. And by the way, Don, the Puerto Rican in Puerto Rico in the 1800s, the reason we became citizens of the United States is because the government of Puerto Rico, not only they invaded Puerto Rico and put us to fight for the United States. So we all in this together, the Puerto Ricans and the Blacks. And I think the reason it starts home, we here at home need to renew our mind. There's racism among us in our own community. There's Blacks against Latino, Latino against Black. And I think that's a big problem. And when we start facing that and start uniting, then we could change the world around us. And that's a really big problem. Because when I moved in this building, the first thing tenants started telling me, you know, there's racism here between the Latinos and the Blacks. I was like, what? You know, something I never thought. I thought that I grew up in the South Bronx, and we very united there in the South Bronx, the Blacks and the Latino. I never experienced here on Soundview area, part of the Bronx, of divisive. And is Soundview area is very divisive of Black and against Latinos. It's very crazy. So officer, how can we, you know, I've been fighting this for since I've been here in the 90s, and I've been fighting uniting Latinos and Black. I became tenant president 6 years. I've been defamation character. I mean, I've been called a racist, trying to get me out of being a president tenant, trying to unite the Blacks and Latinos. And now that I shut up a lot of people, I'm hoping to God, you said something that really touched me, that I tell everybody, that the day I die, I want to die with such satisfaction that when I come and meet my maker, I'm going to tell him that Paul said to him, Lord, I did the best with what you gave me. And I think that's the best thing, that we did the best with what God could give us as a human being, that we gave love, that we did the best that we can, and that we disciplined people, when we need to tell them what's wrong is wrong. And that's why I had a lot of enemies, because I told them that their behavior is wrong. And when they have that kind of crowd, people hanging out with them because they think it's cool. And when you tell them, you know, you got to live righteousness. And when you are hurting other people, it's wrong. And when you're doing things that is wrong, you have to stand up and no more silence. And that's when you stand up, and sometimes you end up standing alone, because a lot of people are so used to living corrupted and hurting other people and bullying other people that they think it's so cool, because they want to be surrounded with cool people. It's cool to bully, it's cool to do dirty things, cool to play dirty, or take that man away from that woman, or take that woman away. You know, no, it's not cool. And until we live a healthy society, we need to say what's wrong is wrong. It's wrong to hurt that friend of yours. It's wrong to badmouth Milagros Day. It's wrong to do this to Reverend Carmen. It's wrong to do this to my sister. It's wrong to say that you're black or white, or it's wrong anyway, because God created humanity. He created us, so we all good in his sight. Whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Asian, we are his creation. What are we doing with that? What were we doing to each other? And I think that is what is happening here. And this is what I represent. That's why I am the Rev, because it's about all of us. What we're doing to what God has given us with what we have in our, you know, this is my kingdom here where I live, what I'm doing with what he's given me.
Well, I would say, Rev, one, you don't have to call me officer. I'm gladly retired for the past 9 years.
I give you my respect.
Thank you. No problem. No problem.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Harold is fine. It ain't fashionably cool to be known as officer nowadays. No, but no, I understand. I'm just joking. Don't also tell you I can be a fool when I want to be. You know, you are the answer to your question. You know, without taking up a lot of time, you asked the question and I was prepared to answer it, but you kept on going. And what I want you to realize, and you don't have to realize it now, Dawn says she's recording this. So if you get the opportunity to watch yourself on the playback, remember when I told you this. You asked the question, and then not even 5 seconds later, you went about answering your question. So I am not going to answer your question. I'm going to let you watch this replay and see how you answered the question for yourself.
Okay, well, I want to give just a little bit of feedback to that question, Rev. Regarding, you know, I had actually posted something recently saying, because somebody had posted, Dominicans are in denial. Dominicans, you're black, and you know you're in denial. And so I forwarded that, and I said, yes, that goes for Puerto Ricans too, because don't forget your African heritage. You know, when you were talking about is colonization, that's colonization. You know, the same way that the Native Americans were colonized, the same way the Taino Indians were colonized in Puerto Rico and in Dominican Republic. So, you know, and we have that African heritage because we were all mixed. That's something I am proud of, you know, that I know I have that African heritage. And I said, you know, don't forget your African heritage, no matter how white you look. No matter how white you look, because all of us, you know, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, we come in all shades and colors, you know, and so it's easy to take advantage of that privilege of not having that dark skin and forgetting that that blood runs through your veins, right? And also because you have that privilege, the whiter you look. Can you answer that question, Harold? You know, what do we do with the privilege that we may have because we're a Latina that's light skinned, or you know, or yeah, please.
I would say don't get comfortable thinking that you actually even have a privilege. I would take that whole line of thinking out of your mind, out of your psyche. You don't look, just because I was making fun of a guy at my cigar lounge I was with a couple hours ago because I don't know, Dawn, if you saw the video I posted. Well, I think you saw it, the video I posted talking about the perfect storm, where I pretty much summarized what got us to where we are today. I was showing that video to a friend of mine at a cigar lounge, and the Spanish dude came and he looked over my man's shoulder, so he was watching it too. He's like, "Hey, Harold, that's you." So he's watching it, and as soon as he see where I said in the video, black people dying, he was like, "Oh, someone called me. Let me go," because he's one of those Trump supporting light-skinned, fair-skinned Latinos that think he has the complexion for the connection. No.
Right.
All right. Complexion for the connection. That's a quote from a comedian who used to actually write for Richard Pryor, Paul Mooney. You can look him up. And I'm about to quote him, so don't be offended at the words that are coming out of my mouth, but they specifically directly answer your question, Dawn, with regard to fair-skinned Latinos, even fair-skinned black people. Dawn, you've met my wife. I call her my snowflake, but here's the thing about those people, whether they be Latino or black, but they're fair enough to possibly pass. You never know when you're going to get that, and I quote, nigga wake-up call. No matter how much you think you in there, something will happen at some point in time when you catch the right white person at the right time, the right white person at the right white time, and that white person or those white people will let you know exactly where your place is with them. So whereas you were saying, what should they do with that privilege of being fair-skinned? I don't think that that's a privilege for them to be fair-skinned. Quite frankly, I have the privilege of being as dark as I am because I ain't never had to worry about skin cancer. I ain't never had to I will not gonna say never, probably once or twice in my life, but in 49 years and change, I can count on one hand and probably have 3 fingers to spare how many times I've actually had to put sunscreen on. So I have skin that has been kissed by the sun. We have those of us who are of darker hues or tanner hues or browner hues. We have skin that has been kissed by the sun. So feel some pity for those fair-skinned folk that they think they're trying to pity them. Pity them. I'm gonna send you a link, Dawn. My brother-in-law has a t-shirt company, and I bought a couple of his shirts. One shirt says hashtag life insurance matters. That's a whole different talk show. And the other t-shirt, I'll send you a picture of it. It just says melanin, like you see it written in the dictionary where they break the word down and then they describe what it is. People have to learn about themselves. When you learn knowledge of self, when you learn about really where you came from, come on, can't nobody touch us. They want to be us. They want to be us. Christina, let me tell you something. And y'all remember this because y'all of a certain age to remember this. When Christina Aguilera came out, she was like little blonde-haired white girl with the Spanish name, but her claim to fame was, I'm in the Mickey Mouse Club. I'm in the Mickey Mouse Club. But then when Ricky Martin started blowing up and Mark Anthony started blowing up, people realized that Jennifer Lopez had a big booty and she could do more than dance on In Living Color. She started to blow up. All of a sudden, Christina Aguilera, I'm Latino too. So people want what we got. So don't be ashamed of what we got. Be proud of what you have. Embrace what you have. And feel sorry for them because they don't have it and want it.
Yes. Thank you. So, I really want to hear like some struggles, how can we support some struggles, and we do have some white sisters on the line. And so if there's any of you that wants to share, anything, please do. In the meantime, anybody who has a question or wants to share, please, please raise your hand and let us know.
And to the white sisters that are here, I'm going to say this. Don't be afraid to ask what you want to ask, But at the same time, I'm going to continue to say this because you may not know me, so I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. So I will tell you, it is not my intent to offend you, but I'm going to also tell you, and Dawn will back this up, I'm not going to sugarcoat myself and how I'm feeling, especially in this kind of discussion, so you can feel comfortable. I think that's a big problem that we've had as a society. Black people have had, and it's coming, as you see, if you're watching the news, it's coming to a boil. That time is gone where people of color are going to just become timid to make white people feel better about themselves or just comfortable in the situation. But I'm personally telling you, I want you to feel comfortable here, but also understand you're in a privileged position right now to actually be engaged in a conversation with people of color where you actually can ask the questions you want to ask.
Mm-hmm. Well, first and foremost,
I'll be nice.
First and foremost, this is the Milagros community, and it's you know, it's a very sacred space that you have the privilege of being part of.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
yes, and so so just want to make that, you know, reiterate that.
Let me make that clear.
Yes.
Young man. You are in the presence of greatness,
Yes.
brother.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we
That's
all
right.
are.
Yes, we are.
We all
right.
are. Yes. Okay. So who wants to share? Has a question?
I don't have a question.
Who's speaking? Who's speaking? All right. This is your floor, ladies. It's your floor. I mean, come on now.
The only dumb question is the one you don't ask.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Go ahead. Unmute yourself, Star. Unmute
Okay.
yourself.
How do you deal with all the factors involved with not only police brutality, but discrimination, exploitation, everything that we're going through in society right now? How do you deal with that? Number one. Number two, I am in the middle because my son, my daughter, and my son-in-law are all law enforcement. And when I talk about police brutality, they look at me like I have three heads. So I feel like, okay, here I am walking on eggshells when I shouldn't be. I should be able to say, you matter too, you know?
Well, my number one answer is going to always be work to improve yourself to be the best you can be.
Right.
And as I said before, claim your victory, not your victimization.
Right, which I do. I'm a fighter,
right,
survivor, and a
right.
striver.
And you ladies all know, especially being involved with Milagros Day, that how you carry yourself is how the world will respond to you. And when you carry yourself with your head held high and your shoulders back, even some of them, you know, jerk cops will be like, that ain't the one, you know. With regards to having family that's in law enforcement, it's very difficult to be related to a cop. My wife could attest to that. It's very difficult to be related to a cop. I'm sure Dawn has similar situations being with the fire department as she was, because there are things that you as the relative are not going to see the same way as those relatives who are on the job.
Right.
There are things that they are going to see or have seen that they can't bring home and talk about.
I know, and that's why I feel like I'm in the middle, and it's a struggle for me because I feel everything that we go through as Black and brown people with any type of abuse. And in the same token, I feel what my daughter, my son, and my son-in-law go through when they get, you know, bottles and bricks thrown at them.
And it's
So-
it's by and the sad thing is it's by our own people.
Exactly.
You know, and
or these white supremacists that come into the community to make us look bad. That's one of the factors that I want to talk about.
That's something that's starting to rear its head, especially now. But there have always been paid agent provocateurs to come in and try to cake up off of what we're happening.
Of course, they want to sabotage everything.
Sadly, that we just have to learn how to counteract that. And I think that there are a great many Black people that are doing that now. I saw a video where, and if I can find it on Twitter, I'll send it to Dawn. I saw a video clip where this white guy was chipping the sidewalk. He had a hammer, a pick or something, and he was literally on the corner of the sidewalk in the middle of the protest or whatever. But this guy's like chipping up the sidewalk so he can gather up bricks to give people to throw or whatever. And a group of brothers, Black and brown brothers, ran up on him. A couple of them wanted to do that boy some harm, but the majority of the brothers in that group scooped him up and then started telling everybody, no, don't touch him, don't touch him, don't touch him. And they dragged his behind over to the line of cops and they gave him to the cops. That's how we do it. That's how we deal with them. That's how we show the cops that we really about doing what's right for the community, even though we're letting you know we're pissed off with you too. Right?
Did you see? Did you see?
I saw another. I'm sorry, sister. I saw another video clip where a car full of white people drove up, gave a dude a brick, and the sister took the brick from him, went over to the car, white people, and she started cussing him out, saying, why are you trying to get this Black man killed, giving him a brick? Get the F up out of here. You know, so we have to see these people. We have to get past our own anger and see the people who are trying to sabotage our movement so that they can go back home and say, see, those niggas was just savages the way we are. All we did was help them show it. We can't let that happen.
Yeah. So, Star, you talked about having a family member and like being caught in the middle and not being able to voice your outrage or your concern regarding police brutality. That is a very real dilemma. It's a very real dilemma. You know, I understand it. I know exactly what you're talking about. And the only thing that I could say to that is speak to their greatness, because you know about the ego, right? And law enforcement officers, cops, they operate from their ego very, very, you know, most of the time. That's their defense mechanism, you know, and so, you know, they, in their mind, they cannot afford the vulnerability. Right.
Correct.
So
because it's their life also.
Yes.
They have to,
you know, and so you know, you either have to accept them how they are, how they think, how they feel, and love them, love the parts of them that you know are beautiful, and always speak to their greatness. Always speak to their greatness. I have had that, and you know, in relationships with family members that are police officers. And I've seen it's been a long growth process, but I have seen, you know, the awakening, little sparks of awakening, you know, and that's really my only advice that I can give you in that aspect.
I'll say this
so
as well.
much. Thank you.
I'll say this as well.
And thank you, Harold.
Oh, you're welcome. I'll say this as well. The best thing you could do, like I said when I gave the advice earlier, the best thing you could do is let them know that they can come to you if they want to. Oftentimes, what cops need on the job is to know that they have a safe space where they can go to, and especially in today's time, you know, the safest place for a cop is amongst cops, because only cops are going to understand cops.
Right.
Only cops are going to understand what cops go through, you know, to the point where not even the closest family, but when it comes down to it, your family is what you have. And when you have so many relatives that are that closely involved on the job, the best thing you can do is say, I'm here for you. If you ever need to talk, I love you.
Yeah,
And then
that's what I do.
if and when they do come, don't say nothing. Just
I
let
don't.
them get it all out.
I listen.
Then that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
And you also brought up the issue of the sabotage that's being planted, the pallets of bricks. I was so freaking like, I was that the pallets of bricks, it hurt me so deeply to the core. Cause it was like, wow, like you're really, who is this? And you know, like there's license plates, there's cameras everywhere that can identify who is dropping off these pallets of bricks. That, you know, to plant that sabotage of the movement for justice, you know. And so I'm very happy that, like, you know, the protesters, and that's what you have to also distinguish the protesters from the looters, you know.
I'm kind of
Yeah,
reading
so
about what's happening.
thank you. Okay, next, anybody else? Next question. Let's see who's got their hand up. Who's got, let me see, who's got their hand up? Kitty, did you raise your hand? No. Okay. Oh, okay. Lisette, okay, unmute Lisette. You gotta unmute yourself, my love.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me, Dan, to this meeting. I want to address that as of today, many names, not only George Floyd, but many names, like in Soundview, in South Bronx, it happened with Amadou Diallo when he received 41 shots on the back, and the police officer still free with nothing. So it's, in fact, what I believe all of this happening is done in a secret way. Ku Klux Klan is behind there, like putting people in with badges to be a police officer, to get the rights to do what is going on. So and the only way I think is like the supremacy, the one who is doing the politicals and could make changes is the majority, which is the white people. They are the one who really can make the change, but we have to help and enforce to make the change. And from what I see and seeing the history is that the way we can do now is to implement and help and give ideas what kind of rules and changes should be done, like the using of that kind of strangle situation they do to put down the people. They trying to catch and kill, and they use that as a weapon. That's a weapon to strangle.
Mm-hmm.
So to make those changes in the system of the police, from the police officers, they've been trained to do things like that, and that's what I believe. So we have to make some changes. There have to be some changes in that area, and especially when like shooting from the back. We have to keep an eye of who's the person who they're gonna give those badges on. If they to investigate their background, if they really participate in those kind of supremacy clubs, before getting the badges. Those kind of changes to investigate really deeply, to make that to send that to as a rule. That's what I believe should be changed.
Yeah.
Well, there are talks throughout law enforcement agencies throughout the country to make those changes. I can assure you, chokeholds are not a part of training. It wasn't a part of my training, and I wasn't just municipal police. I was also Air Force security police. And in neither of those academies that I went to did we engage in training to choke people in any fashion. Takedown techniques, absolutely. Submission techniques, absolutely. Techniques to choke somebody out, absolutely not. Not my experience. So there's that. I think something very important you spoke of, Lisette, when you talked about the majority of white people in politics. Something that we, quote unquote, people of color have to stop doing in order to really ascend to the level where we deserve to be is we have to no longer embrace the term minority. I am not a minority. I am a descendant from the cradle of civilization. If it were not for Africa, none of us would be here. We are not majorities. If you put black people and brown people together, and then you throw some Asians in there too, and the indigenous Americans who were here before everybody, how are we possibly, and then you throw those, the Indians that are coming over from India, Pakistan, and so on and so forth, you throw our Middle Eastern brothers and sisters in there, all those brown people, how are we possibly the minority? But see, we're living in a system that was created by the systematic majority, and the system was created for that systematic majority. When they wrote the Declaration of Independence, we weren't a consideration. Latinos weren't considered a consideration. Black people surely weren't a consideration. When they wrote the Constitution, all that life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, we believe all men to be equal, that's all well and good if you're considered to be a man. Women weren't even a consideration. All men are created equal. You see what I'm saying? So we have to see what was written, and we have to hold America accountable to what it says it stands for. Don't say, oh, because we included you in this. If the Constitution was such a great document, it wouldn't need to be amended. Ain't nobody amending the Bible. Ain't nobody making amendments to the Torah. Ain't nobody making amendments to the Quran, right? But when the document is flawed, it's able to be amended. So what we have to do is we have to go to the ballot box and exercise our power there and let them know that's how we show that the Constitution is flawed. That's how we show that there's an amendment. We believe that slavery is done, right? No, slavery ain't gone. Look up, Google the 13th Amendment. See, go to Netflix. For those of you that have a Netflix account, go to Netflix and see if that documentary 13 is still on. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery except when you're imprisoned. Imprisonment is legalized slavery. So we have to first, for our own spirits, we have to do away with allowing ourselves to be called a minority. I will not allow myself to be called a minority because I am a member of the global majority. When you take all the people of color in the world, Europe is a very small place.
Wow. Thank you, brother. And you know, it's so perfect that you talked about the power of the ballot. You know, you mentioned the perfect storm earlier today. And what you didn't add in the perfect storm is the fact that we are in an election year, in a pandemic.
I did mention a health crisis.
In an election year, in a pandemic, in a social, in a economic crisis, in a shutdown, and now in riots, and in a census, the census.
It's a census year.
Okay, and with all this craziness going on, who's going to think about voting and registering to vote when they're trying to put food on the table, they're trying to walk down the street and not get killed, you know, and they don't believe that their vote counts, right? And so that is what the quote unquote majority is counting on. They're banking on that. They're banking on the fact that you don't believe that your vote counts. And if you look at statistics, if you look at percentages, only like I think 49% of the Americans vote to begin with. Of Americans in total. And then when you break it down into African Americans and Latinos, how many of us are voting? So the powers that be that we complain about for 8 years and 4 years, they're there because of our neglect, because of our, you know, apathy, because we feel that we don't count, right? Now, there was a video that I had posted, a music video from a young man. I posted it a few days ago, and I'll post it again, that tells you, it breaks it all the way down to all of the elected official positions that are the most important, and it's actually the local government that is the most important, because those are the ones that are actually making changes, and they're the ones that are representing you, because a president does not represent you. And so we need to vote. We need to vote. We need to vote. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, because now you have to figure out, are you registered? You know, is it this mail-in ballot, or is it the show? Are you going to show up? Are you going to be in a crowd with COVID? Are you going to, you know, whatever. Do what it takes, man. This is about our life. And that census, it actually is going to allocate the funds and the representatives that are going to represent you in those elected official positions. So you have to do the census, and you have to vote. So thank you for bringing that up. Mm-hmm.
Think about this. We have the technology. Think about this. We have the technology for all of America to pick up their phone, text in the number, and choose the next American Idol. We have the technology to pick up the phone and text who has the voice. We have the technology to pick up the phone, who dances with the star the best, who's America's next best dancer. We have the phone. We have the technology to pick up the phone and text all that nonsense, but we need to worry about how we gonna mail in ballots, absentee ballots, so on and so forth. You know, so think about the game that's being played. Think about the fact that the system that put Donald Trump in office is based on people of color, in particular, African enslaved persons, not being considered human enough to have a full vote, but human enough so that the slave owners, because at the time only white male property owners could vote, not just white men, you had to be a white male property owner. So you got to count the slaves as 3/5 a human being to add towards your population, to add towards your vote. That is the foundation of the Electoral College, the 3/5 rule. You can Google the 3/5 rule as well. All right. So what has to happen is we have to make sure we can, whoever we put in there or whoever's going, that's not going to be this clown, that we got to get to those states where the Electoral College flips the script. So what put him in the office was the millions of people who didn't bother to vote at all. But hopefully the way things are going now, people are seeing they have no choice.
Yeah, but more, you know, really, I really want to drive that point home, that the president is not who represents you. It's going to be your congressperson and your senators and your assembly people and your council people. You know, those are the
Board of
people,
Education.
Yes, those are the people that you need to put in office, the ones that, the best choice that you can get, because they may not be the best, but the best that you could find, you know? And then, you know, hold them accountable. Hold them accountable in your community boards. There's meetings in your neighborhood, community board. Go
Let me
to
tell you
your,
something. I'm sorry, Dawn. The most dangerous person in your town, the most dangerous person in your borough is the person who has a perfect attendance at the town council city council meetings. That's the most dangerous person or the most dangerous people in your community. The people who are at every single city council meeting, who knows every city councilman or councilwoman by name, who knows what's going on with the school system, who knows what's going on. The most dangerous person in the town is who knows everything that's going on with the Department of Sanitation.
Yeah, and
We have to involve ourselves with that because all politics are local.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the most dangerous person. It's the most influential person.
Influence can be dangerous.
Well, it depends on how you
in a
use
good
it.
way, in a good
Yes,
way, in a good
yes,
way, in a
yes,
good way.
Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Okay, so we have a few minutes. Who else? Who else is here? I'm trying to see the time. Where is my, okay. All right, yeah, we still got some time. We still got some time. Let's bring it. Kitty, yes, 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 yes. Okay, I gotta unmute yourself. Yeah, there you go. This is my beautiful sister Kitty. Yes. This was
So
my
what I want to
roommate for 3
know,
years. I met this woman. She is my sister. Yo, let me tell you, homegirl is amazing. Yes, go ahead, baby. Yes.
thank you. What I want to know is what I can do to support. What I can do to support. I support every day. I'm not pro-cop. I'm not anti-cop. I think what happened was horrible. I'm broken by it. My heart is broken. And I don't know how to help. I don't know what to do. And that makes me feel more broken.
Well, first of all you have to do is be a good person. You don't have to be pro-cop to be anti-cop. You don't have to be anti-cop to be pro-cop. You just have to know right from wrong and be a good person. As far as what you can do, I mean, I don't know your circumstances, but whatever you can do within your circumstances, do. And if you can't do it, then sit tight for a while until you can. Like right now, you could go out if you want to, but then there may be consequences to that. So, you know, I've publicly said it's going to get bloodier before it gets better. So it might be fashionably nouveau to say I marched. That don't mean nothing. That don't mean
I
nothing.
don't want to march.
Right. That don't mean nothing if you go out in them streets and catch the COVID. That don't mean nothing if you go out the streets and catch a billy club upside your head. So the best thing you could do is just remain a good person. And when the potentiality or the eventuality of you being able to be of service presents itself, then be ready to do whatever is required of you within your bounds.
You know, and I have to be totally honest and clear my space because that's what I always do. But a little bit of your conversation earlier almost made me stay quiet. And I don't want to stay quiet. And that's why I'm asking you, what can we really do? Because when you went into the privilege, I get white privilege, believe me, and I understand being a Black man, even though I'm not, but what you go through, and on a level more than you'll understand, neither here nor there. But when you started to before talk about whiter and melanin, I inside came back down. And I don't want to do that, and I don't know how.
Well, one, I did say it is never my intent to offend.
No, you didn't offend me. You didn't offend me. I understand what you're saying. And you have, and I appreciated what you said. I appreciate what you said. But in the little side of me, it makes me be quiet. Like I almost wasn't going to say anything.
But you know what, Kitty, that's okay. That's okay. It's that, you know what it is? That's the goodness in you saying, maybe this is the time where I might just want to fall back and listen. You see, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Sometimes the heart and the mind wants to do so much. How does the saying go? The mind is willing, but the flesh is weak. Sometimes the flesh is willing and the mind need to go somewhere and sit their ass down.
No,
So,
it's the heart never overrules the mind, only becomes its partner in crime.
that too. But sometimes, listen, and I've had, contrary to what you may believe in this conversation, I have had to learn to be quiet sometimes.
But I don't want to be quiet.
Sometimes
we can't be quiet. It's not good
sometimes
for us to be quiet.
No, it's not. It's not
I
good
mean,
to stay quiet.
overall, it's not good for us. For me as a white female in America, it's not okay for me to be quiet because you are my brother and these are my sisters.
Okay, so I ask you this, dear. Where do you feel your voice will be most effective? And I'm not asking.
I take that shit to the streets. I got a big mouth.
No. I'm not asking that to answer me. I'm asking that question for you to answer yourself as you continue on your journey. Where can my voice be put to best use? Because it really doesn't matter. You could stand in your room right now after we get up off of this and scream as loud as you want. But there ain't nobody in the apartments around you because everybody out there marching. You know, it's like, who made that noise? You know what I'm saying? So all you did was wear out your vocal cords, but you didn't affect any change. And I feel that there is change in you wanting to be made to better the world that we live in. So I say, marshal your energy, marshal your resources, find out the best places where your activity, your energy, and your voice can really institute change, and then go at it. And then when those opportunities don't present themselves, fall back and plan some more.
Well, I actually have an idea, Kitty. You know, Kitty's background, you don't know, but she owned a venue for what, 10, 15 years, and she has so many events, and she, like, you've been to her venue, the place where we did all our events in Brooklyn. That
on the little corner there, yeah.
That huge space, that that was her place. And believe me, you created a safe, beautiful space for people to share their voices. And
that's your bar and restaurant, Kitty?
Yeah, it's closed now.
Awesome.
It's closed now. Yeah. Great. But but now, Kitty, you are a mentor in healing voices. And so by you being a mentor in healing voices, that's where your voice is going to make the biggest impact, is allowing and giving that impulse and that inspiration for other women, Black women, Latina women, white women, to speak their voice. You know, you stood on that stage, you shared your story, and you gave your impact in that stage at Healing Voices. And by you being that vehicle and helping other women to share their voice, that's gonna make a huge impact.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, awesome.
Thank you, Harold.
Awesome. Okay, so anybody else? Where we got for time here? Sonia, okay, go ahead. Unmute yourself, my love.
Kitty, I think to add to what Dawn said, if you want to use Healing Voices as a platform to certainly begin, but I think where you would be best suited with your pursuit to want to help, and as I'm saying it, my heart is racing, so I'm going to pay attention to my own breathing, as Dawn would say, right? As she taught us in our many classes together. I think that it would be awesome for you to share your experience as this white woman that has that privilege and feeling that helplessness and even expressing that. and saying, you know, the roots of change, or rather the change is going to come when we change the words that we speak. So words matter. And, you know, most of our mindsets come from the perspective of what we were taught. So all of this is multi-generational. It comes, you get it from your mama, you get it from your papa. So, you know, I think if she would utilize her voice in that experience of wanting to be part of that change, and why possibly white privilege thinks the way that they think, it's because they learned it. They learned it in childhood. No child is born saying, I want to be a racist. Yes, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to lynch people. No, you know, these are mindsets that are taught. So again, words matter, childhood matters. And you have one heck of a story, and it's not even, you're just scratching the surface. And yeah, Healing Voices is definitely a platform where you could make that come to fruition. And then also African American people that want to join that and say, this is my experience and this was my perception of what white people are, because that's what my mother taught me, and that's what I heard, and that's what that's what we experienced in our own environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know Kitty's family, and that was not anything that she learned growing up.
No, not
no.
that's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah. But you know, honestly, I feel like it comes more from like middle America, and it's like implanted here. You know, I think that growing up in New York City, it wasn't like that. Like I remember in the neighborhood that I grew up in, it was people from all nationalities, you know? And so, yeah, it's just huge. So anybody else? We probably have like room for one more share. Vanessa? Yes. Okay. Yes.
Hi. So I'm sitting here. I've been actually sitting here all day in a mix of many emotions, as this is something that hits home for us where I'm at, being a Latina woman, being, in my eyes, practically married to a Black man, raising a very Mullen looking daughter. She's still Mullen now because of being enclosed at home more often than she usually is, but you know, who's on the darker skin side of a Latina, and me being a more fair side. And I sit here in days of varying emotions, because in the line of work that I do, it's all community based. So I am researching and I'm reading and I am trying to put a letter of solidarity together, I took a break so I could be a part of this. Coming from program management, I work with a lot of community partners within early childhood education, within low-income communities, and you guys are speaking, and I am feeling what you're speaking, and I am feeling what I'm feeling, and you hit so many important points. And you hit it from the beginning, when you spoke about educating oneself, educating your homes, educating your children, and educating them with truths that at times is hard for us to face as adults. We need to first, at least for myself, I do my best to do my own reflection of my own biases before I put words out there into social media, into my work. Because again, my work resonates from community, it's collective impact work. So we're supposed to be impactful into the communities. And our work is ever changing because of what's changes within communities. So educating ourselves about politics, educating ourselves about the importance of the census at this time, because not many people look at data differently. Data is of importance. So people run funding and programming through data. And it's important that if surveys go out, or if the census is out, that Like, you do it so you can be counted, because the truth of the matter is we are not a minority. We have not been a minority for centuries, and we will never be a minority. We are probably, in fact, majority. What we forget is the power that we hold within our communities. We forget the power that we hold when it comes to choosing the correct local elected officials to represent us, the people within our communities. We forget that we are our children's first teachers, that we are the ones that need to educate our children in our homes. And yes, have those difficult, courageous, because that's what they're calling it now in the DOE, because I know more, I know things, but there's courageous conversations that need to be had amongst community members, community partners, and parents, and people that live within these communities. And if we don't educate ourselves, and if we don't educate our children, we will not stop this generational pattern, because that's what this is. This is not going to change overnight. You're absolutely right. There's no way that we are going to see an end to racism in our lifetime right now. None of us. But our children's children can. And it starts with us. It starts with us giving the proper knowledge. It starts with us understanding the power that we have in the positions that we carry, whether it's being an owner of a store, whether it's being a community member, that, no matter where you work or what you do, you still have a power and a responsibility. We talk about accountability. We need to be accountable as well. And it's my responsibility. I had to understand that despite how I feel, and despite my anger, and despite my hurt and pain, me and my husband has experienced many times being pulled over, being racially profiled, and simple things as I could be treated differently one day for looking more of my fair skin Latina privilege side than what I would look like if I was dressed the way I am today, in a more natural and authentic side. And this is the reality of what it is. And like my work, I'm taking advantage of my position. I'm creating a space and creating platforms for community members to become leaders within their communities. Community members, really being the ones to speak in behalf of those who are unheard. Sometimes it sounds scary. It sounds like, it looks good on paper, and all. No, you got to put the work in, and we have to put the work, and we have to take our energy that we're putting into all these things and focusing it in a different direction that's more impactful for generations to come.
Thank you, my darling Vanessa. Do you have a question for Harold?
I think my question for Harold would be, as an educated, and I'm going to look at you as a Black man, because you were a Black man first before you were a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And as an educated Black man, because you sound very well educated as well, as a community member that serves in a position that is community leadership in its own formulated way, what are some advice and direction you can give me to be the navigator, to help guide community in a way where they will be looked at just like that, as educated Black individuals who are respected, who are valued, and who are heard, and who have power and have decision power, that giving community back community.
Yes. Awesome.
First,
all right, thank you. Just to let everybody know, after your answer, we do have Charlena, who had her hand up, and then so we may go over. So if everybody can just please hang on, we may go over, and we're going to close with another prayer from the pastors that is going to be very, very powerful. So please, stay for that. Okay.
Well, if we go over, Dawn, it's okay. It's not like I gotta get up and go to work in the morning.
Okay. Yes. All right. So yes, if you can just take a few minutes to answer Vanessa, and then we'll have Charlena ask a question, and then we'll close with the prayer. Okay.
Absolutely. First, Vanessa, let me say this. your fairer skin aside, I see the beauty of the motherland in the fullness of your lips. I see the beauty of the motherland in the fullness of your nose. I hear the beauty of the motherland in the richness of your voice. So I know I was
Don't forget that
speaking
curly hair now.
for real, right? That ain't no wash and wear hair. I'm sure you got to tend to that from time to time, you know. So embrace what you have been given, because you have been given a great deal, you know, and you know that you have it. So embrace it. To answer your question, I find myself falling back to the same answer I gave Sister Carmen Hernandez, I think it was. In that you answered your question before you asked your question.
Yes.
So all those things, what can I do? What can I do? When you watch the replay, watch what you said leading up to your question. Because I really don't, I would have to go back and remember everything you said to just give you what you already said. So just wait for the playback.
It's your passion and your commitments and your integrity that you use every single day when you're walking those streets and when you're, you know, empowering that community. That's your answer.
What I would also say, and this may apply to each of you ladies, sometimes we get so caught up in doing what we're doing that we take ourselves for granted. We get so caught up in doing what we're doing, and we have that passion and we have that love for what it is that we're doing, that we don't feel that we're doing enough. Now, that can either be the drive that keeps us going, or we could find ourselves beating ourselves up because I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. Sometimes you have to fall back and embrace all that you're doing for the moment. I think that's what I was kind of trying to get across to Kitty. Sometimes you got to embrace what you're doing in the moment, for the moment, and know that there will be an opportunity to do more. Sometimes you have to let it come to you, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful, Harold. Thank you. Yes. Okay, Charlena. Yes, my darling.
Hi, my Milagros family.
Hey, you!
It was
I know you!
I want to give a big, first and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to Sir Reed for guiding this beautiful call, and also for the years of dedication you have shown at Milagros Day Worldwide. I remember being a part of the Dream Team and seeing how you evangelize people to come and be a man of the movement. So it wasn't only you that you brought you and everything else. So I just want to say thank you for all that you have done, and thank you for being on this call. Thank you, Dawn, for inviting him to be just here with us. I want to first also say that what I'm about to say is totally my opinion, and I felt today and for the past couple of days terrible. This morning I woke up and I had to like cry, and the first thing I had to turn to was my Bible and remember that staying rooted in my Bible meditation is very, very important to me right now, and that is my sword as I go out into the world, and that's what really drives me to continue being everything that I am and everything that I want, my goals to keep going. So I think that right now, as survivors in Milagros Day Worldwide, it's important that we continue to evangelize together and continue to stay grounded. And whatever it is that you may do, just take extra time during these uncertain times to do it. And that's what really kept me sane. Like this morning, I had to just read the Bible all morning long. I couldn't even work. I just had to take that time off myself. And I actually called my employer, one of my people that I work with, and explained what I was feeling. And she felt the same way. And sometimes it's like, all right, sometimes you need to take some time for yourself. And even sharing that with other people, it changes the mindset of what it really looks like, what's really needing to be done. So another thing I wanted to bring up, and this is totally my opinion, and my question to you, Harold, is that I have to fight with my inner racist, and that I'm not always a person that, yes, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, yes, yes to all of that, but I have that mindset of thinking sometimes too, dealing with my inner race. So how is that going to continue to mold the conversation as we continue to do everything and reimagine what schools look like and the world looks like? How does the Black even image have to deal with your inner racist and telling you what is and what cannot be?
Oh my God.
First,
Wow.
I want to thank you because I feel the intensity of your energy right now.
Mhm.
It's moving actually. First thing we're gonna do, my dear Charlena, is we're gonna re-diagnose that quote inner racist. By definition, we as Black and brown people do not possess the financial power and ability to systematically hold down any other group of people based on the color of our skin or their own. So we can't be racist by definition. So if you think you've got an inner racist that you're dealing with, problem solved, because you ain't got no inner racist, because by definition we can't be racist. But there is something there. I'm not saying there's nothing there. I'm saying we're going to reclassify what we call that, and then, which is now, we're going to work on it. We can't be racist, but by all means we can be prejudiced and we can be as bigoted as anybody else, right?
Mhm.
So now, do you hate people because of who they are and what they are? No, I doubt that. So let's throw bigoted out the window. Are you prejudiced? Can you think that's a group of people over there, and I don't know everybody in that group of people, but I know some people that are from that group of people that did X, Y, Z, so I don't know how I feel about all them people. If you can answer yes to that, guess what? That's fine. That's prejudice. We all have it. And anybody who tells you they don't, they're lying. Now, we can control how we feel. Well, actually, we may not be able to control how we feel. We can control what we do about how we feel. You see? So it's good that you recognize that you have some internal prejudice. We're not going to call it inner racist anymore. Side note, it's very important the food we feed our minds is just as important as the food we feed our bodies. Remember before I was talking about tuna fish Ritz crackers. Please don't go into a monthly diet of tuna fish and Ritz crackers. That's not good for you, right? Neither is putting certain words in our heads. One word I strive every day to not say is try, because no one who tries ever succeeds. The one thing a person could say that could throw me totally over the edge is something's easier said than done. Because I've never met a person in my 49 and change years, I've never met a person who says something is easier said than done and then went on and did it anyway. Because anytime, and think about the people you've met or known in your life that have said something's easier said than done. After they said that, they ain't do nothing. Because what happens is when you say something's easier said than done, you're giving yourself permission to do nothing. So be very mindful of the words you feed yourself, because that goes into your subconscious, and then your subconscious rules your body and your thinking when you're sleeping and you're resting. And when you wake up, you have a seed planted in your head that you don't even realize you planted there. So we're not going to call whatever that is inside our inner racist anymore. That could be some prejudice I recognize. And now you've killed the monster, minimize whatever's left over, and now you could just move forward. Because guess what? Not everybody is like that prejudice that's inside. But historically, as a people, we have a right to kind of be leery. I don't know Kitty. Just met her here. Now, probably met her when I was at the restaurant one time or two. But here's the thing. I would probably, if I didn't know Kitty through Dawn and we were in some, I wouldn't walk up to Kitty and say, hey, how you doing? Let's have a conversation. No, because I kind of stick to my own. But if the opportunity presents itself to be amongst other people, to be in a diverse group, look at us now. I'm always open to an opportunity, but at the same time, I have my guard up as well. And that's unfortunately how we have to survive. But ultimately, you know who you are inside, and you know yourself to be a good person inside. For everything you said, the one thing you kept going back to was, I read my Bible. I was in my Bible meditation. My Bible is my sword. So you find comfort in that. And that is the source of you being the good person that you are. So continue to build on that. And that is how you defeat even that little bit of inner prejudice that used to be classified as inner racist, which we have now determined cannot exist within you.
Wow. Wow. That's the way to end this conversation. Damn. Yo, Harold, you're amazing. Oh my God, my brother, you are like, you just open your heart and let God speak through you, because everything that you said, I know it came from divine calling and divine intervention, and from your dedication through the years to empowering and opening people's minds in their hearts. His one of his books that he has is Motivation, right? Motivating people to take action, right? And so it's funny that you talked about the food that we feed our mind, right? The words, because Charlena's a chef. I don't know if you knew that, right? So, yeah, and it's, oh my God, wow, what a freaking distinction! Like the differences between racist, bigot, and prejudice. Holy crap. Like there's a reason why each one of those words exists. They're not just interchangeable. They each have their own definition. And so it was so beautiful to watch how you completely eliminated that one out of the equation, eliminate the other one out of the equation, and you left prejudice, which is something that we all have, which in psychology is called unconscious bias, right? Which are the unconscious biases that we all have because of our experiences, and so and the key is to not judge it, and to constantly, instead of letting it be unconscious, to actually become conscious of it, and not judge it, and make the right decisions, make the right choices between what's right and what's wrong. Wow. I got freaking chills. That's the way to end, man. Thank you, Harold. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. I honor you as a Black man, as my brother in spirit and soul. I honor you, Harold Reed. I honor you and I appreciate you so much. And, before we go into the prayer, do you have a few very short words to close with?
The hardest thing I've had to do thus far is sit my 10-year-old on my knee and explain to him, and even go on YouTube and show him what a riot is. One of the funny things I had to deal with earlier this week, I go into his room and he has an Alexa Echo Dot in his room, and the boy was actually listening to CNN. But this was before this madness started. I have to prepare my son for an ugly world. And there is nothing ugly in his spirit. But the same way we have to sometimes inoculate ourselves with a strain, a fraction, a portion of a disease so that we can build up an antibody to fully combat that disease, I realize that it's my duty as his father and my responsibility as his father to let him know about the ugliness of the world, past and present. Past and present. And for those of you who have children who are still in school, you have to go back and you have to reread the history that you were taught. You have to reread the history that you were taught so that you could get a more fuller understanding of what you were taught. Also, so that you can combat the nonsense that they're trying to put in our kids' heads today. So you can call your teacher and say, why are you calling African Americans involuntary labor? No, it's enslavement. We were not, those of us, I'm gonna end with this. The sentimental part is over. I love my kid and I gotta raise him to live in a hard world. He gonna be all right, cause damn it, he's my son. He ain't got no choice. The only thing that separates us, Black and Latinos, whether, you know, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, whatever, right? It's just a matter of who got put off the boat first on their way here. Because we all came from the same place. The differences in the skin tone is in relation to how many Europeans was dipping in our gene pool and the climates where we were dropped off. That's the difference between the fairer skins and the darker skins. Now, being that we all come from the same place, guess what? Eventually we all gonna go to the same place. So all we can really do is focus on being the best us's that we can be and let God sort out the rest in his own time.
Thank you. All right, and with that, we're going to close with a prayer again from the pastors from Celebration Spiritual Center. So if you all please just stay where you are and really listen and feel it and take it with you. Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you, Harold. Okay, let me share that screen.
With prayer. And so I invite you right here and right now, wherever you may be, wherever you are sitting, whatever condition you are in, to take a deep breath in right now, deliberately. Breathe in through your nose. Exhale from your mouth. And another time, a conscious breath in. We breathe in through our nose, out through our mouths. And for a third time, we breathe in. And we breathe out. I am grateful for the breath.
Yes.
I am grateful for this tool, this ability, this faculty that we have to bring ourselves back to the present moment. As we bring the focus of our attention to our breath and choose to breathe in deliberately, we leave the past, we leave the future, and we are here now. And so it is from this now moment that I speak this word. There is one mind, one power, one presence. It is working in all, through all, and as all. That mind, that power, and that presence is God, and it is omnipresence. It is everywhere present at all times. It is omnipotence. It is all the power there is to be, do, or have anything. It is omniscience. It is all of the wisdom, all of the knowledge, all of the solutions, all of the answers, and it is right here, right now. There is no spot where God is not. There is no spot where love is not. There is no spot where peace is not. There is no spot where ease is not. There is no spot where God is not. I recognize that it is right here, right now, and I recognize that I live, move, and have my being in it. And as I live in it, it expresses in, through, and as me. My sister, my brother, you are one with God and one of God. You are God's divine, holy presence. You are God's divine and holy child. We are one with God and one of God. Divine, holy, sacred. We matter. And so it is out of this awareness, this recognition that God is, and this unifying thought and knowing that I am one with God and that you are one with God, I speak this word in faith. As we are speaking from this now moment, I know, declare, and decree that this time together is a time that is transformational. I declare and decree and know that in this moment, in this time, in the 90 minutes that we spend together will be a time of transmuting and transforming fear, a time of transmuting and transforming hate, a time of transmuting and transforming any sense of inequality, transmuting and transforming any sense of injustice, transmuting and transforming any thought that is in our minds that is unlike the truth of life, and returning us back to the truth of ourselves so that we can be effective on this planet as we choose to experience justice on the earth, as we choose to experience equality on the earth, as we choose to experience peace on the earth. And it is so from this awareness that I pass the prayer.
Mother, Father, God, I sit in the seat of transformation. I sit in the seat of awakened consciousness. I sit in the seat of the one mind, the one power, and the one presence. It is equally available here and now, not only to myself, but to the beautiful souls that have assembled themselves here right now. Right now, and right now, we allow transformation to take over our consciousness. We allow ourselves and our experiences to be awakened. In this moment, we are awake. In this moment, we are alive. In this moment, we are aware of the truth that lives and has its being in us. And so I declare and decree that the healing has already taken place, that the transformation has already taken place, that we will move from this place, this awareness, this moment, this now moment into a deeper expression of the love, extending it out everywhere we go, extending it out with every breath we breathe. From this place of awareness, I say that this time together is whole, perfect, and complete. In this time and in this space, the healing has taken place. And I let go of any thought of doubt, fear, worry, insecurity, guilt, anything that would keep me separate from this consciousness that knows who and what I am. From this place of the I am, I release this word knowing that it is full of gratitude, full of ease, full of peace. And together we say, amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is. So it must be. So